In this lesson, I'm going to explain how to write as task 1 on pie charts. So in all IELTS task 1s, you have 3 paragraphs, sometimes 4. The first paragraph is introduction. It's true for all types of paragraphs, for all types of tasks. And the second paragraph is overall paragraph, in which you summarize the main points. And the third and the fourth paragraphs are detailed paragraph in which you organize the information into 2 meaningful parts. So this is book 11, task 1. I'm going to explain what you should do in this task. So the first, you paraphrase this in your own words, and then you pay attention to this part. This is the same for all tasks. You just read once and it's enough for all. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So basically it's easy to say you summarize the information, you select and report the main features, but sometimes it's difficult to when we really have to write it, it doesn't really work all the same as it's written here. So I will give you some tips. So always pay attention to the images and tasks. Think first how many elements you have. How many elements does this task take? Percentage of water used for different purposes in 6 areas of the world. We have water, we have purposes, and 6 areas of the world. 1, different purposes, and 6 areas. So let's see how many purposes we have here. It says purpose 1, purpose 2, purpose 3, industrial, agricultural, domestic. 3 purposes, 6 regions, and 1 usage, water. So it's important that you take into account which elements you will have to consider the most important to organize your paragraphs. So do you think the most important element is here the purposes or the regions? So we have 3 purposes and 6 regions. So always start with the element of the tasks that has the lowest point, that has the lowest numbers. In this case, we have the purposes, 3 purposes. So why should you consider this? If you start with the numbers that are larger, the elements that have more parts, you will have a lot of trouble organizing the task and dividing this into paragraphs. Remember that you can only divide this into 2 paragraphs. If you think of writing another paragraph, so it's going to take a lot of time. You have only 20 minutes, and you have to plan for about 5 minutes and have to check your work for about 3 minutes, and then you have only 12 or 13 minutes to write, in fact. So we start with the first, the purposes. So let's see how you're going to organize the paragraphs. Okay, you introduced the topic, and then you wrote the second paragraph by saying overall. So what's the overall here? So overall paragraphs always asks about the main points, as it says here. Reporting the main features. When you report the main features, what are the main features here? So if you look at these 6 pie charts, you will see the highest amount of the place that has been occupied by striped image, that is agricultural use. So that's the most important part. So in the overall, it takes this into account, and I'm not going to tell you what you have to write overall because it's your task, but you will have to take this into account as it's going to be your overall, and you have to organize your overall paragraph based on the most important feature here, as it is agricultural use. And in paragraph 3, you have to divide either one of these 3, and then paragraph 3, you divide 2 of them. You write about 2 of them. So as we have agriculture, it's the most important element here. and you write this in the first paragraph. This is what I advise. And in the next paragraph, the next body paragraph, you write about industrial use and domestic use. They're not going to take a lot of space because as the most important element here is agricultural use. And for this, we have one paragraph, and industrial and domestic use, we have one paragraph for both. So, and then you start comparing. You start your paragraph by saying, by making it clear it's going to be about agricultural use, and you say, you write how much every region uses this water for agriculture, by noting the main features and by comparing. And then you start your next paragraph by writing about both industrial use and domestic use. So if you think industrial and domestic, which is more than the other, as you see, probably the blue space is larger than the dark space. So industrial comes before the domestic use. So you start writing about industrial use, and by comparing the industrial use with regions. And just one example is as Europe. So the highest amount of water used for industry was in Europe, which was 53% of overall water, and this number was 7% more than that used in North America. And three other regions, Africa, Central Asia, and South Asia, use relatively less amount of water for industry. So I'm not going to say everything here, 7, 5, 12, because we have 6. If we had 2 or 3, I will be able to cover everything, every number. So that's why I just noticed Europe and North America for industrial use, and I just quickly wrote about the 3 other regions which use less amount of water for industry. So this is one example, and okay, you do your best, and this is just key points. If it's your first time you try it, you might have some mistakes, and then if you do this, and I will correct and give you feedback. But if you've already done this before, and it's going to be much easier, so you will be doing even much better if you didn't know how to do this before.